Farhan bhai, to start. The freeze हो गया नीचे जा أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إلا تنصروه فقد نصره الله إذ أخرجه الذين كفروا ثاني اثنين إذ هما في الغار إذ يقول لصاحبه لا تحزن إن الله معنا فأنزل الله سكينته عليه وأيده بجنود لم تروها وجعل كلمة الذين كفروا السفلى وكلمة الله هي العليا والله عزيز حكيم. In the previous ayat of Surah At-Tawbah, yesterday we did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's declaration that if you do not stand for the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when the call is made, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring a people other than you. Meaning Allah ta'ala does not need you for the service of His deen. This is your own benefit. This is in your best interest that you participate and you take part and fulfill the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the call towards the service of deen. Herein Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving one example that how despite all odds, with little to no human help and assistance, apparent assistance even, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how He helped Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This ayah refers to the incident of the Hijrah, where the entire Mecca Mukarramah, the people of Mecca, the Quraysh, the Mushrikun of Quraysh, they were plotting against the Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That was the government at the time. They were the individuals who held political power at the time. So they are plotting and planning against the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and they are discussing that should we remove him, shall we murder him, what should we do with him, should we jail him. In this interim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends wahi to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that you should also perform hijrah now. Other Sahaba radiallahu anhum have already begun their hijrah and many of them have already gone. Now it's the turn for Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to perform hijrah and to migrate from Mecca to Medina as well. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam comes to Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu and he informs him of this wahi that he's been given permission. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he seeks permission to accompany Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He says, As-suhba ya Rasulullah. Nabi alayhi sallam allows him, and they make preparations. For 3 days, Nabi alayhi sallam and Abu Bakr radiallahu anhum, they camp in Ghar Thawr, the cave of Thawr. Many of you may have visited, maybe even climbed up towards it when you went to Mecca. Nabi alayhi sallam and Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, they stayed for approximately 3 days, 3 nights over there. In this interim, what would they do? They would collect information about from the Quraysh, that what are they doing, are these the search parties they're sending out, and when the time would be correct, then they would leave on their path towards Medina. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu's son Abdullah, he would bring food and he would bring information. Asma radiallahu anha, also the daughter of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, Asma bint Abi Bakr, she would also bring food. Ali radiallahu anhu would also provide whatever assistance was needed, secretly obviously, so that no one would find out about the plans of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So in this context, where the political power of the time, they are searching and they are plotting and planning to remove an individual, Nabi alayhi salatu wasallam, the Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and whoever, in this case it would be Abu Bakr with him. Despite that, how does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fend off their plots, and how does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoil their plots against the Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Now, in the famous incident of the seerah, that a search party of the Quraysh, they did come into that area where Nabi alayhi salatu wasallam was hiding in the cave. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He made it such, and He sent that a simple makhlooq of Allah, a simple creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a spider, it makes a web, a home of it around the mouth of the cave. 2 pigeons, they come, they lay eggs in the mouth of the cave. Those that are looking from, they say that if this is undisturbed, how can someone be inside? It's undisturbed, no one is probably in here. Therefore, they carried on and searching for Nabi alayhi salatu wasallam in different places. Something as simple as that. But وَلِلَّهِ جُنُودُ السَّمَاوَاتِ, the armies of the skies and the earth belong to Allah. It can be the smallest of things. But if the amr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that this will not happen, it will not happen. Whatever apparent means. To Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a large army with all weaponry, every form of weaponry and grade is there. That and a small mosquito is the same for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A spider for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the same. Why? Because it's the amr of Allah. It's the command of Allah that this will not happen. So in this very simple manner, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala assisted alone His Nabi and angels, the malaika of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who also cast a covering. And if anything were to happen, then the angels would be there for Nabi alayhi salatu wasallam's protection. Wallahu ya'asimuka min al-nas, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given divine protection to the Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, reading further on, we will see the aqidah of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as well over here. The Quran Kareem says, إِلَّا تَنْصُرُوهُ, that if you do not assist him, فَقَدْ نَصَرَهُ اللَّهُ. It's not that Allah will help him, Allah has already assisted him, and you've already seen that. How many of you Sahaba were with Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in this dangerous migration? The search parties are after him. The political power over there, they're after him. Yet, very simply, Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam and Bakr radiallahu anhu alone, together with their one guide, they make this travel. فَقَدْ نَصَرَهُ اللَّهُ. Allah has already assisted the Nabi of Allah. And it's already been proven to you, it's already been shown that you are not needed in order for the nusra of this deen. What you need is for yourself to be accepted. And this goes for all a'mal salihah, all good deeds, anything a person does. Whether it be monetary assistance, why does a person give sadaqah? Why does a person give zakah? World hunger will be solved? Maybe, maybe not. But what does matter is that your wealth was purified. What does matter is that for you this becomes a dhakhira and something for you in the akhirah. This is something which will assist you in your akhirah. Maybe the person who receives it, uses it well, maybe he doesn't. Maybe you solve world hunger, maybe you don't. But that's not the objective. It could happen, it could not, maybe, possible. What matters to you is your thawab, your reward, your darajat, your wealth to be purified. So assistance of the deen of Allah, da'wah, whatever other forms of service of deen that people are involved in, you do it for yourself. The issue is when someone does it for anyone else, then what happens? Oh, people don't care about us, no one appreciates. Oh, see what this guy did after that. Why were you doing it for anyone else but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Anyone who does anything for other than Allah, they will definitely regret it. They will definitely be remorseful. Why did I get involved in this? If you do it for anyone other than Allah, you'll regret it. You won't continue ever doing any khidmah, any service of deen. The only one you should do it for, the only one who is true shakir is Allah. Allah is shakir. Allah is the one that is a true shakir. إِذْ أَخْرَجَهُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. So the incident of Thawr, of the hijrah, that when those who disbelieved, they forced the Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's another lesson in this, that for the sake of aqeedah, for the sake of deen of Islam, for the establishment of Islam, something which was as beautiful as Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was leaving Makkah Mukarramah. As a human being, he turned and he said, "Ma atyabaki." What a pure place you are! How beautiful Makkah is. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam loved Makkah. He was born there. His grandfather was born there. His great grandfather. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam from the progeny of Ismail alayhi salam. Right? Imagine the difficulty upon the Nabi of Allah leaving his homeland. Right? But for what reason? For the sake of Allah. Because it was in the best interest of deen that this migration, this hijrah needs to be made. Once they're established, then they can come back. So for that, this sacrifice was also made. Every form of sacrifice the Nabi of Allah has made. For the ummah to see. That if you think for you political sacrifices are difficult, well, it was done from the Nabi of Allah. Social, then that was as well. إِذْ أَخْرَجَهُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا ثَانِيَ اثْنَيْنِ. That two of them, Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam and Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. The suhbah of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, that's what we say, is established in the Quran Kareem. Denial of the suhbah of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu is tantamount to kufr. إِذْ هُمَا فِي الْغَارِ. When both of them were in the cave. إِذْ يَقُولُ لِصَاحِبِهِ لَا تَحْزَنْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَنَا. When Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he was obviously very scared for the Nabi of Allah, as it comes in books of Sirah, where as they're walking, sometimes Abu Bakr is going to the front, sometimes to the back, sometimes to the right, sometimes to the left. Nabi said, "What's happening, Abu Bakr? You're going here, you're going there." So he said, "Ya Rasulullah, if I think that someone from behind is coming, then I look behind. So I think someone from the front might come, and danger might be up over there, then I go a little ahead. If I think it's coming from this side, then I go over there." Once they reach the cave, and Abu Bakr anhu, they're hearing that now the search party, which we spoke of, that search party is coming. He's saying, "Ya Rasulullah, they're right here. If they look down, they may see us." So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gives condolence to Abu Bakr anhu. He says, "La tahzan inna Allah ma'ana." That do not remorse, do not fear, do not grieve. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with us. This is the aqeedah, that the ummah receives in inheritance from Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. La tahzan inna Allah ma'ana. As long as this is the aqeedah, then the ummah will be okay. La tahzan inna Allah ma'ana. فَأَنزَلَ اللَّهُ سَكِينَتَهُ عَلَيْهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends down tranquility, itminan, وَأَيَّدَهُ بِجُنُودٍ لَمْ تَرَوْهَا. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also assists and aids the Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Abu Bakr anhu with armies لَمْ تَرَوْهَا, which you cannot see. وَجَعَلَ كَلِمَةَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا السُّفْلَى. And he made the false word of those who disbelieved the lowest, meaning the plots and plans that are made, how we're going to find and capture Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, all of that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoiled. وَكَلِمَةُ اللَّهِ هِيَ الْعُلْيَا. And the word of Allah is always high, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant and has granted victory. وَاللَّهُ عَزِيزٌ حَكِيمٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is most powerful, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all wise. When things happen, why, how, where, all of that is within the hikmah and the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How does it get done? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all most powerful. The issue is who will be accepted for that service. We make dua that Allah ta'ala gives us understanding.